How do you stay ahead of the curve in today's spring market when it comes to selling your home? Well, that's what we're going to be discussing. I'm Evan Saint-Gerard, and my special guest today is Anthony Russo, attorney at law. Anthony, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks, Evans.
All right, Anthony, talk to us. How do we stay ahead?
Well, as you know, Evans, the market is still a little intense. I think there's still a shortage of supply, so there is still demand. I'm sure you advocate to your sellers to keep your house in good shape. Be prepared when you're going to put it up for sale to make sure it's decluttered, neat, organized. Sometimes people get inspectors in on their own for a seller to see what things may be an issue for a buyer so they can be ahead of the curve and, patch little things or fix little things or major things that may be an issue and affect the value of your home when you do go to sell it. Those are the basics, as you probably speak to your sellers about. From a legal perspective, there's a whole nother checklist that I have as well.
Oh, checklists. You know this about me. Checklists are very important, and
Yeah.
everything you just discussed is in my checklist. Basically, when I'm talking to my sellers,
Good.
I'm like, look, we're gonna check everything. We want to make sure everything. We have warranties for everything. We want to make sure everything's up to date. Everything's up to code. Do we have a CO basically for stuff in the backyard or outside? Any enhancements that we made in the house? We want to make sure everything's up to date. We want to make sure basically who's the legal person that's able to sell this property. So we always try and dot the T's. Actually, it's dot the I's and cross the T's.
Well, it leads right into my point. So, the neatness, the structural integrity of the home, the repairs, the cleanliness, and then, whether you have all the warranties, as you mentioned, okay, then it goes right into the legal aspect. So jumping ahead, that if you brought me a seller today, I would have the first conversation with the seller about representing them and ask them for certain things. So if you represent a seller or are going to put a house on the market, these are the things that I would have my seller get together in advance so that when they do find a buyer, they're ready to go right into contract. So as you know, Evans, and as I mentioned with the market, the key is being prepared, being ahead. And things move quickly, and they have to with rates going up and timelines and banks require buyers close in a short period of time these days, more and more because of the rates. So when a client will come to me to sell our home, I'll say, do you have a copy of the deed for the property? Do you have a copy of the survey, which is the drawing of the property? You might not, but these are the things that I'll ask for as a sales attorney to be prepared to do a contract and to get that contract out right away and to get it in the hands of a buyer and the buyer's attorney with the information that they're going to need to sign it and get it back to us. You don't want it to sit for days or weeks while the buyer is asking questions or looking for things, or the buyer's attorney is trying to get information because the seller didn't have it, the seller's agent didn't give it to us, the attorney, or the attorney didn't have it or get it. So if you have an approach with the seller, the broker, the agent, and the attorney having this information in advance, your deal will move a lot faster and be more streamlined to get you into contract and lock up that hopefully good price for you. The deed, copy of a survey, copy of any permits or certificates of occupancy or completion that show that anything added to the home was permitted properly by the town, and a copy of your tax bill showing the lot, the block, the tax assessment, and the actual taxes you pay are vital to put into a contract and get it in the hands of a buyer.
All right, I don't want people to freak out. This seems like a lot. We do this on a daily basis, so we will definitely walk you through the whole process. So do not freak out. It is a lot. It's not something that you deal with on a regular basis, but we do, so we will walk you through this. Now, we want to add some extra stuff basically for condos and co-ops. There's some more paperwork that we might need from you as well. So you want to go through that as well?
Sure. Let's deal with the condo, which is because it's more like a home. Same thing. You may have a copy of your deed. You may have a survey on the property. You may have a C of O or a permit for anything for the actual unit or anything added to it. If you have a deck or an outside patio or something like that, possibly, and a tax bill. All the same types of things. But with a condo, you're also going to have a homeowners association. And that HOA will have common charges that you pay, condominium fees you pay. There'll also be a process for the buyer to fill out an application, probably to get approved or at least be part of the HOA, including a unit power of attorney that lets the condo HOA act for the benefit of all the individual homeowners. There are also fees involved when someone buys into a condo, transfer fees. Sometimes there's initiation fees into the condo HOA and fees for certain amenities if they have a common clubhouse, pool, tennis, golf, whatever it might have. So you want to know those fees in advance so you also can have the documents ready for the buyer so that they can continue that process and know what expenses are going to be involved. The more unique one is a co-op. Co-ops are, little strange creatures of their own, where you don't actually own real estate property. You own stock and lease. You'll have stock certificates in a cooperative corporation and a lease to live in that unit. With the co-op, you want to make sure you have the offering plan, which is a big booklet that you should have received when you bought your unit. It's the state's approval of that cooperative years ago, and it has to be transferred from owner to owner. Don't panic if you don't have it. Most co-ops, have them electronically now, where you can get it by email, or they can get another copy for $100 or a couple $100. So, but those are the things you're going to need to transfer. Lastly, for a co-op, if you own it outright, you should have the original stock and original lease. So when you buy a co-op, if you pay cash, you get the stock and lease the day you close, and those are your proof of ownership. And when you sell, you have to transfer those to the buyer. So you will need that original stock and original lease. Again, if you don't have it, there's some complexities, but we can overcome that. There's ways with affidavits and other title lien searches that we can ensure that you still have the rightful ownership and can transfer that. But if you have a loan or a mortgage on that unit, your lender has that original stock and lease. So sometimes it's a very time-consuming process to get it back from your lender, or have the lender show up at the closing with those documents, which they must do. And sometimes the lender has lost those documents. So again, another process by which the lender has to check, then has to sign different affidavits and attestations and give certain insurability issues that they haven't pledged those documents, and that the co-op will be okay transferring it to the new owner. So yes, it's a lot, but all of these things are, steps that when you're in the hands of a good realtor or a good attorney, even before you go into contract, you can, again, stay ahead of the curve by getting these things in order sooner rather than later.
I'm glad you said the last part. That's really important. I think it's really important that people understand pretty much while we're asking for all this stuff, we're still processing everything. We're still, getting the photos done. We're still prepping the house ready, getting it ready basically to show, or the condo, the co-op, whichever one it is. We're doing everything simultaneously around the same time frame. So you're getting the paperwork. We're doing what we have to do on the real estate side. Our attorney is doing what they have to do on their side. And the loan officer or the bank, they're doing what they have to do on their side. So all this stuff is happening at the same time. So I don't want people thinking, okay, well, we have to do this first and then wait and then do this and do that. No, all of this stuff is done at the same time. There are a couple scenarios that I wanted to see if you can talk about. Divorce, basically, people are going through divorce and they're selling the property. Is there anything specific that they need to put together?
No. Essentially, whatever paperwork they have from the divorce decree or judgment will govern how the numbers will be split or how the monies will be split. That's the key component. A lot of times they'll have two different divorce attorneys, and they may not agree on the monies, and those battles can slow up the sales process. As long as the parties have an agreement as to the numbers, or if they agree to sell the house and let the monies be held by their real estate attorney or one of their divorce attorneys until the numbers can be split up properly, that's a key function. Get the sale done and deal with the money later, or have it agreed to so that we can deal with the money at the same time. But if they're divorcing couple is going to fight over the numbers during the transaction, it's going to slow, complicate, and I've seen it kill a transaction. So, it's vital to try to get those numbers agreed to, or more importantly, sell the house, take the money in, and deal with the division of the monies or assets later on.
All right. And then the next situation is there's debt. The house basically needs to be sold. It's a short sale or foreclosure situation. What paperwork should they? We're going through. Let's do the scenario. It's going through a short sale. What paperwork should they be getting together?
Well, a short sale is going to ask the bank. That means that the lender who is owed the mortgage is going to have to accept a lesser sum because the house doesn't have the value, and the seller doesn't have enough money to satisfy the mortgage and complete the sale. So the bank is going to want to compare the value of the property, first of all, to what they're accepting for this. So that's where you, as the agent, Evantz, will have to give them, comparisons to show, what this house may be worth in today's
market. Where the value
market.
is.
Correct. Two, the seller will have to prove that they don't have resources elsewhere. So their assets, tax returns to show that their income statements, that they are struggling, that they can't keep this mortgage afloat, and they are behind such that the house is worth less than the mortgage that's owed. So again, between the value of the home and the person's, finances, taxes, income statements, paychecks, whatever it is, those would be required to get that short sale approved. And then it's a time-consuming process that the bank will drag it on and may agree and may not agree, may come up with their own number without basis. So it's hard to predict how that's going to happen, what's going to happen with that.
But like we said before, basically, you want to get ready for all these things. So that's why we have these conversations up front. So that way, nothing is really a surprise. We have to wrap this up really quickly because my battery's dying on this computer. So the last one I have for you is, unfortunately, it does happen, and it does happen to all of us at some point in our lives, death. Basically, someone passes away, mom, grandpa, somebody in the family passes away. What paperwork do we need? Obviously, if they have a will, if they have a trust, that's very important, and that can factor in how fast this process can go.
This is a lengthy conversation, but nonetheless, I'll try to make it concise. If there's a trust, the actual trust document will govern how the property can be disposed of and who can handle that as the trustee. If there is someone who passed away, if there's a will or no will, depends on what action is taken. Whether it's an administration, means there's no will, you have to go to court to get someone appointed, or there is a will and there's an executor or executrix and the will says who that person is. Either way, the court has to get involved to allow that representative to be appointed and allow that representative to then have the authority to sell the house and then marshal those assets. So that could be a time-consuming process. After COVID, a lot of the counties have been backed up. So, if someone has passed, you want to know if they have a will or not. You want to file for letters or administration to make sure someone can act, or get the trust handy, have copies of their death certificates, and you may need affidavits from other relatives about whether the person was married at the time of the death, whether the person had transferred the property without consideration, no money earlier. So again, time-consuming processes, but the sooner you start to figure it out, the better you'll be and able to complete your sale. And like I said earlier, I gave you a long list of things you should have. If you don't have them, we can still do a transaction. It will be more complicated. It could be more time sensitive, but the sooner you're missing something, the sooner we can start to fix that problem.
Well, like I said, we're running out of time, so ask us for a checklist, basically for whatever your scenario is. Let's have a conversation, find out what your scenario is, give you the checklist, and basically if this is something that you need to get done, we can definitely assist you with that. Or whoever you choose to work with or you choose to hire should have a checklist. If they don't have a checklist, then reach out to us. We'll help you out. With that being said, Anthony, I'm looking at my clock here and the battery on my computer. You got the last words.
Again, we're here to help, but again, being prepared, being proactive so that you can sell these properties when the market is high as it is. And again, preparation is the key to everything, in my opinion.
All right. I did say he had the last words, but I'm just going to add one last thing. When the seller takes care of all these things and they're very prepared, that makes it a little easier transaction for the buyer on the buyer side as well, because basically it'll be smooth. So the buyer has to do their things to get themselves prepared. Seller has to do it. Everybody has to play their part. With that being said, thank you for watching. My battery's about to die. I hope you all have a great day. Leave us comments. Give us some feedback. Let us know what other stuff that you want us to talk about. If there's any scenarios you want us to address. Anthony,
thank you.
You got the final last words this time, really.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
And we're done. All right, I got this battery is like really. I got